Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. You know, that's what we try to do every single time. Well, you know, I had to change what I was going to talk about today. I was trying to get Dr. Dean Baker, professor, on a pre-tape beforehand, but we couldn't get our schedules together. I'm going to try to have his interview. I'm going to try to have him at later on so that we can play it for you tomorrow. I'm trying my best to do it because he's going to have some present information to tell us about what the subject is about today. Like I said, there was another subject that I wanted to cover, but what happened was I read an article at Common Dreams, and when I read that article, because it goes back to the days when we had AIDS, it goes back to all these times where our medicine could help people, could cure people, could make their lives better. But because of our economic system, because of our patent system, because of how all these things work, it was not to be. And we're running into the same thing that we're currently dealing with today. If you recall the person that we had yesterday on, he said, why is it that we don't have 100 million vaccines now, right away? Why is it that we are not using the Defense Act to ensure that we have maximal amounts of these drugs? And the reason, I tried to give the reason, he wasn't too keen initially of saying what the real reason was, but we are going to discuss that. But let's go ahead and get into the program because, you know, like I said, it is concerning that these things occur. And they occur because most people just don't know. Welcome to the show, Bridge MCP. Bridge says, hey, I posted a link on your organic food post. I'll check that out after the show, my dear friend. Michael Rudman says, global rich must cut their carbon footprint 97% to stave off climate change. UN says, when the worst of global warming acceleration starts to hit a decade from now, the poorest nations will be the worst affected, while the rich will aim to delay the inevitable by taking their helicopters, yachts, billions to more hospitable locations. The rich have shown time and time again they don't care about people except as providers of their wealth. They then again, this could go a whole different way. Last chance before the guillotinas. Las guillotinas van a llegar. I love that phrase. You know what? What we have to be informers, Michael Rudman. Thank you for putting that out. We have to be telling the truth. The truth of the matter is there are a ton more people that the rich depends on than we depend on the rich. You see, the rich has the power they have because they have indoctrinated us all, not us all, but they have indoctrinated many into the belief that they are inherently superior to you and that you need them and that absent their whatever it is that they have to offer, you will be that much less. And that is the thing that we have to dispel, Mr. Rudman and everybody else listening. We have to show the equity in our values, the equity in our humanity. And once we show that, we are all on the same playing field. Look, I'm not looking for everybody having the same amount of money, everybody having the same amount of capital. That is not what we're looking for. Because if you want to work hard, you should have more capital. But what we have is a system that precludes you from working as hard as that makes you work harder than that person who has capital that's able to do whatever the hell they want to do because they run you. You are not but their minion. You are not but their slave. You are not but their servant. You are not but their indentured person providing them with indentured servitude. It's a mindset. It is a mindset that we have taught everybody in this economic society, the gradation of worth. You know, I wrote a piece a long time ago called Middle Class Held Hostage. And when I wrote the piece, I wrote it from the point of view as far as where we really were. But the other corollary I should have put onto that piece was the hostage taking was only because our minds are in a place where we allowed it to happen. You know, people will continue to do certain things until they learn the truth. People will continue to believe that, you know, there was a time that ships, you remember when you had the flat earth theory, right? And you look at the horizon, you look at the water, and you're looking at the horizon. In the past, people believed that once you got across that horizon, that you were going to fall into the abyss. That was the end. Terminado, finito, todo está terminado ahí. That's what they believed. Because as far as their eyes are concerned, that is where you fell off the edge. But when people traveled and they traveled and they traveled and realized that there was no edge, suddenly they traveled. Suddenly they went forward. Suddenly, and that is what we have to do with our minds, right? We have to stop believing the fallacy that there's something inherently better with those who were able to monopolize capital, those who were able to get rich, those who were able to attain the wealthy. Their existence is completely dependent on us all. There is nothing inherently that they can do for themselves. They cannot be rich by themselves. They cannot be wealthy by themselves. They need us. And until we learn that that power belongs to us, that is when we win. That is when we take over. So we're going to get into some of that as well. Why are states suddenly getting 40% less vaccines? We don't quite know yet, Bridge MCP. We don't quite know yet. Bam Bam, Egnerto needs a MAGA hat. Oh, I guess this guy changes his code every single time. Now Bam Bam is MAGA. That's funny. That is interesting. Anyhow, states complain of smaller vaccine shipments than expected. The smaller number of expected doses, which appear to be the results of scheduling hiccup, reignited tensions between the federal government and Pfizer over vaccine supply. I'm going to read this and share it in a half an hour after the show. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate all the work that you do. Appreciate the work that you do. Okay, so the title of the show today is, and here we go. ¿Dónde está? Ahí está. Okay. The title of the show today is There You Are. It's time to pharmaceutical companies are villains, not saviors. Here is the truth. Most Americans are not concerned about the politics of medicine that kills many going forward. We must understand pharmaceutical companies. My brother says, I will not take that vaccine at Biden and Harris and the ones that invented it, the medicine. They should be the first before it goes out to the world. That is my view. And the good thing about it is Brother Biden will be taking that vaccine on air, and several others will be taking the vaccine on air. As you guys know, I'm a science kind of guy, and I did my little homework on it. And so far, all I can tell folks is when the vaccine comes, the RNA vaccine that I know about so far, and we're going to talk some about that as well, I'll be taking the RNA vaccine because, again, it has passed the muster. And again, my brother Roberto Lewis is actually right. When you see some of the people who society think matters more, take it. then you should consider taking it as well. So I'm with you, brother Lewis. I'm with you, brother Lewis. Mike Cisak says the customer has always had the power in the private marketplace. It's because they can either buy or not buy. That is absolutely false. Can you decide to buy or not buy gasoline? Can you decide to buy or not buy water? Can you decide to buy or not buy things that are utmost necessity? I think you just gave a good reason for a good bifurcated economy. A capitalist one that handled the things that aren't a necessity, and a socialist one that handled the things that are necessities. I think you just made the case for that, CSEC, because of exactly what you just said. The private market, you can choose to buy or not buy. What about when you cannot choose to buy or not buy? What about when you break your leg and have to go to a hospital and that hospital say, I will only fix you if you give me your house? It's a fallacy to sit down and believe the private market, the capitalist system works in every single scenario. It does not. And until we get honest about it, we will never, ever attain the type of society where everybody, in my humble opinion, has equal access to success. Otherwise, it is biased towards capital. But before we get busy, I want to play a video. And the reason I want to play this video is because I did it at the end. It's not even in the mock-up that I have for the show, right? But this video is important because it shows what this Republican is doing. So here we go, and then we'll take it on the other side. I love this Republican congressman. He could possibly be a part of breaking the fever, breaking the conspiratorial fever, breaking the crazies, etc. with not only the book that he wrote, with what he has to say. Representative Denver Riggleman from Virginia, Republican from Virginia. Check this interview out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
CDC director yesterday said a mask can be more effective than a vaccine for some people.
CDC didn't say that.
CDC director did yesterday.
No, I didn't.
I'm not trying to argue with you. He did.
I know. I trust me. I saw it. It's not true.
There's a lot of stuff on Facebook that talks about how Democrats are running child trafficking rings.
I believe it.
You believe it?
I do, because I believe a lot of the movie stars. I do. I believe it.
And that was me talking to some Trump supporters in Staten Island who were dug in on some of the conspiracy theories and insisted facts were not facts. And while President Trump went on to lose the election, conspiracies haven't lost. They're still out there. They're still causing problems. It's something that is not lost. It's an outgoing Republican congressman who once dropped thousands of dollars on trips to hunt down Bigfoot. Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman of Virginia, who is the author of Bigfoot. Congressman, I got this pitch in my email about your book, and I initially dismissed it until I heard an interview you did and how it linked conspiracy theories. And I thought it was just a really brilliant way of trying to get at the problem that we are facing right now. It is more mainstream right now within the Republican Party. What do you do about this?
I did try to get at people a little bit with this book, Bigfoot. It's complicated because, I've been a victim of disinformation, but, my background is in intelligence, counterterrorism, and non-kinetic attack, sort of like what you saw with the SolarWinds hack. And I just wanted people to know that belief systems can completely overtake your life view. And looking at different sets of Bigfoot believers, not only did they get very angry with me, they actually thought, Katie, and I hope you're okay with this, they thought I was making lists. I worked for the National Security Agency. They thought I was making lists to hack into their bank accounts and destroy their lives because we knew that Bigfoot existed. That is sort of what you're seeing out there right now. And it's not just the conspiracy theories that we've heard, like you just had that incredible interview or that incredible back and forth about those poor ladies who believe in adrenochrome. And that Democrats are, a Satan-worshiping cabal of pedophiles that are trying to plan a deep state coup against the president. It's that, we got anti-vaxxers, and we have people like General Mike Flynn out there talking about martial law and military efforts to overturn the vote. So really, it really is an analogy that these belief systems can take over, Katie, and they can run your life. And, there's not weaponized Bigfoot people out there, right? They're not actually coming at your house because you don't believe in Bigfoot, but they don't like each other. But we're certainly seeing insanity being weaponized and monetized in a massive grift across the internet, and all of it's based on things that are massively false. They're not even close to being real.
When you talk about monetization, you make the connection between Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, who are both part of the legal effort to overturn this election on behalf of the president, and link them to those who were selling folks the conspiracy of Bigfoot.
This is a griftocracy. I mean, that's the best thing I have for it, right? It's a bunch of people who are in on the grift. When I did that first Bigfoot expedition, I gave thousands of dollars, and there were 40 people there. I mean, they made a lot of money off, going after Bigfoot. I guess I could start some kind of business going after unicorns, right, or going after the chupacabra, right, or maybe the kraken. So, so that's the issue that we have right now, is that people are monetizing this. And what you're showing even on the screen was just the fun time we had out there. And we would go out, they would show us Bigfoot caves. They would show us maps to wilderness areas. It's the same thing you see on digital media. They have a map where you can go, whether it's on Gab or Parler or BitChute or YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. The encrypted chans, right? The encrypted image boards. All that is the same map that people are using right now. Right.
I talked to an NYU psychology professor about conspiracy theories. He's done a lot of research on it. And he said that when you try to fact check people on it, they only dig in further. They get more stringent, stronger in their beliefs. They don't believe the fact checks. So given that, and that's the effort that we make every day on television, it's what Facebook is trying to do with its fact checks and Twitter, et cetera. Is it possible to combat this?
I think it is. I think you got to do it with compassion, but you also have to be very offensive. What we're going after is really dissemination of disinformation, but an online disinformation campaign that might be the biggest conspiratorial grift in history. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So we have to be very offensive. And I think we almost have a digital vaccine, just like the COVID-19 vaccine, where we use machine learning. We use big data. We use fact-based analysis, and we aggregate data from public trust companies, and we go after these hashtags. We go after these messages. We get on these boards. We fight them on their turf. It's something I was very good at when I was in the military, especially in the counterterrorism and counterintelligence world. And I think that's what we do. And that's why I'm on the board of the Network Contagion Research Institute now. We just released one of the most, I would say, in-depth quantitative analyses of QAnon just yesterday or the day before. So I'm going after them. So I'm not going to stop, Katie. It's my time to go after them.
I am going to go after them. I want you guys should actually go to a QAnon website or page or whatever. You'll see that it's really a grift. They're just there to make money to the suckers who are willing to believe the crap they talk about and just fork out the money, the hats, the t-shirts, the storyboards, everything. As soon as you get to one of their websites, you're hit up immediately, and then they give you the entire video for the story. Look, what this guy is doing is it's a great thing. We need more people to take the active role that he says he's going to take, which is, I am going after them. We are going after them. And it's not enough to just give information. You notice what he said? We have to be offensive. In other words, it can't be some sort of defensive nature. You have to offensively take over so that these guys the leaders of, you don't blame the average person all that much. You blame the leaders, the people who are instituting the grift, the people who are stealing, the people who are the ones doing that. Congressman Denver Riggleman Republican from West Virginia. Republican from Virginia. Very good job. I love that guy. That guy is, those are the kinds of Republicans that we need to come to the forefront. Unfortunately, they only do it after they're leaving because they don't want to risk the wrath of the majority of their constituency. So that is the issue. Now here is the deal. I have the stuff to talk about the great thing. It looks like I'm going to get that interview that I'm looking for with Dr. Baker. Dr. Baker and says, let me just let him know that I'll be there for that interview because I want to give you guys real information. I want to give you guys stuff. Not only that, look, I've studied economics as well, but I also always want to validate a lot of what we say with talking to economists at different think tanks. And Dean Baker, you can look him up. He's one of the best economists out there. He's a capitalist, but he understands grift. He understands rents. He understands all the issues that comprises capitalism and where it fails, etc., etc., etc. Welcome aboard, Bridge, Deborah John, Mike Cisak, Daniel Ledo, Roberto Luis, Bam Bam, which is Tank 28. Tank can't hide himself. He tries. Inky 131. If I missed you, forgive me. But I want to tackle Mike Cisak because I think in talking this over with Mike Cisak, first of all, I think it will help a lot of us out. Not only, he said Mike Cisak and Daniel Ledo had comparable messages. And I want to let me go to Cisak first, because what we need to do, like I always talk about communication, right? Cisak has some valid concern. The customer has always had the power. I took care about that. I told you guys, there are certain things that the customer does not have the power. When you break your leg in Timbuktu, rural America, where there's only one hospital or none, you don't have a choice of where to go. You don't have a choice of what ambulance to use. That is not a place where the private sector works well. We're free and not free, and we're the private sector. That doesn't work well there at all, because at that point there's no way for you to there are certain things that are that just that way. So he says, yes, Egberto, I can choose a different place to buy from. You are given a fallacy in such examples. No, they're not. If you are in Brenham, Texas, it's about 100 miles away from anywhere. Well, not Brenham. I use another city in Texas. And the closest hospital is 20 miles away. And the next closest one is 150 miles away. You do not have a choice. Likewise, if you are the manufacturer of insulin, and even though insulin is no longer under patent, just different formulations are, even though it was created by others, you don't have a choice. So no, the argument that I'm making is not false. Now, Daniel Ledo comes back and then he says, what about if you mandated by force the government to buy? I don't know what that means. You mandated by force the government to buy. Let's define government one more time. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, we created a government. Government is what again? We, the people. So the people mandates the people to do something. Wow. The people mandate the people. I tell myself I need to do something that's going to benefit people. Wow. How bad can it get? Anyhow, continuing. Bridge lost out on Mike Cisak calling himself a minority because Democrats have won. And because he's concerned about policies Democrats are going to put out there. The first thing I want to talk to Cisak about is Cisak gets his information from all the wrong places. They told him Donald Trump was going to win in a landslide. They told him there was a lot of voter fraud, not voter suppression, voter fraud. They told him all these things that because he trusted those sources, which we can't blame him, right? Everybody have their sources that they trust. But after you trust the source that has failed you, it's then on you if you continue to trust that source. Example, Republicans are coming out all through the gazoo to tell you in Georgia, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, reputable Republicans are telling you there was no fraud. And in Pennsylvania, when our Texas Attorney General said, I am going to give $1 million for anybody who can find fraud, the Republican Texas Attorney General says, I am going to pay $1 million if you can find fraud. And the Pennsylvania guy comes back and says, I found fraud. Unfortunately, the voter fraud that was found was fraud committed by those trying to elect Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. Again, didn't make the news on the channels that Brother Cisak watches or the ones that he listens to. Okay? So these guys have been proven to be malinformed and to purposely give misinformation. Why am I bringing that up now? Because Brother Cisak says the following. I am a farmer who is now facing policies that harm me and my family and fellow farmers because your party is pushing things that are damaging to the environment. Let's stop. There is a good possibility that Brother Cisak got that information off of his sources of information. That source didn't tell him that the lax regulation from Donald Trump allowed mercury to flow into the beds, into the valleys, into the places where farmers are, which makes their land produce crop that are loaded with heavy metals. They didn't tell him that because we're not doing the necessary for climate, to lessen climate problems, that his farm will get an inappropriate amount of water, either none or not enough or too much or whatever. It's just distorted. They didn't tell him that because of regulations they were trying to affect his, for those of the growers who work with ethanol, etc., affect him. So my thing is, the fear that these guys have, farmers that is a false fear. The best thing to happen to farmers is for Democrats to take control, and even somebody like Vilsack, who is going to take care of the Department of Agriculture, because they understand. The people who care about the farmers aren't the Republicans. They care about the agribusiness, ADM, and all these guys who take your money as a farmer, who gives you a little pittance for what you grow, whether it be the animals or the crop. They care about the agribusiness. When they give you farm subsidies, the ones who get the most aren't the individual farmers. It is the agribusiness. Check it out. Your source of information isn't telling you that, but you can go to Donald Trump's own agriculture department and see who got the money. You can do that on your own. You don't need the right-wing media to tell you that and to lie to you, to not let you understand that under Democratic rule now, things are going to be looking up for you. So please remember that. Please remember that. And again, you don't have to listen to my voice. You can go ahead and find it out. What if the GOP came along and passed a bunch of policies that dictated how your house is to be organized, that some furniture needs replaced? That, you see, that's a false, that is what's called a false equivalent, a false narrative. Deborah John says, Egberto, are you aware of the facts that the Germans developed the vaccines? Are you aware of the, once vaccines came into America, it was to the military for processing and for the millionaires, billionaires, and to, let me, Deborah John, let me tell you something. I am not going to, I love everybody on my show. Left, right, anywhere in between. And I'm going to try to give straight information. And I'm going to ask you, if you're coming to my show, know that you're going to get researched information, and know that you're not going to get right-wing theory, left-wing theory. You're not going to get conspiracy theories from me. Okay, you're not going to get conspiracy theories from me. What you're going to get from me is information that says, all I want to do is what's best for us all. And I will do it to the best of my ability. And I am not going to go to these websites that try to traffic in scaring the holy hell out of you. The same ones that are putting out things like withhold the vote to make people in Georgia believe that black people withholding the vote from Ossoff or Warnock is going to do something special for them, when it's really going to hurt them by allowing Mitch McConnell to control the Senate. Where we have to get in on our understanding is all the forces that are working against us. And many of those forces working against us make believe that they are your friend. They make believe that somehow it sounds good. ADOS sounds good. A lot of these things sound good until you go and do the research to see how it's funded, or where these people that are pulling it, or how they are using it to make money themselves. Look, I try to make money with my show to keep this show on air, but I'm wide open. You can ask me anything. You can ask me anything about my sources. You can ask me anything about who are my donors. Everything you can ask me. It's right there on my website, including the donors who are okay with me putting on the site. And if there are only about 4 donors, and they're all small donors, who said, I don't want to be on your site because I'm a right-wing Republican who likes you. But you ask the others, you're not going to get it. Okay, you're not going to get it. So what I'm trying to say is this now. My dear sister, Deborah John, when the vaccine becomes available for you, I will urge you to disregard what you're reading, if it's right-wing conspiracy stuff you're reading, and please protect yourself, protect your family, because this stuff ain't no joke. My cousin got COVID, and it really has hurt his life. It's not the flu, as other right-wing sites would tell you, and it's not some sort of the vaccine isn't some kind of anti-vax. Now, I'm talking about the pharmaceuticals. They're evil. The pharmaceutical companies are evil. The research is real. The pharmaceutical companies are evil, and we're going to talk about that. But please, my dear friend, please, please, don't fall for the conspiracies. I am taking the vaccine. I will take the vaccine when it's my turn. When it is, again, I supposedly shouldn't die too badly if I get it. I don't know. I still could, but who knows? But I will take the vaccine. Mike Cisak de Brie says, I can tell you after talking to a bunch of ranchers and farmers, they're very negative on Biden admin because they know the policies are bad for us. They cannot know the policies are bad for them because the policies aren't written. What we said in our platform is always to protect the farmers. The farmers are ill-informed by a right-wing media that is an evil thing that's using their disgust for what the plutocracy has done to farmers over the years. It is the plutocracy that has screwed farmers for years. You grow the food, you sell it on a market that is tricked. Let's get real. If you really care about yourself, if you really care about your industry, the least one should do is be informed correctly. We have been doing great for the last 4 years. No, you have not been doing great for the last 4 years. Maybe your individual case may have been well for the last 4 years. But don't tell me you're doing well when America is subsidizing farmers now because of what we've done with the trade policy in China. You talk about the welfare queens and the welfare kings getting free money. Now you're talking about farmers who go get a check because the president decided to screw up with the supply chain with the products that you sell. Let's get the truth out, sir, with all due respect. Mandating someone to be one group over another is authoritarian. Yes, and that's what Donald Trump tried to do, isn't it? That is exactly what he tried to do. That is exactly what he tried to do. Why are you complaining? We haven't done that on the Democratic side. Okay, Egberto, you don't know crap about agriculture. I've been this with my parents since in the 70s. Actually, I do know crap about agriculture, not because I am a farmer, but because I read and I also did research from my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, which has a chapter that talks about how you as a farmer got screwed. So it's not that I'm not talking what I don't know, sir. I did my homework. Did you know that you couldn't use some of the seeds that you bought from the big plutocracy? That had nothing to do with Democrats. That had everything to do with the institution of the plutocracy controlling who control the seeds. Sir, with all due respect, I do my homework, sir. So no, I do know about agriculture, and I do know what has happened to the farmer. And not only, and if you think you have it bad, ask the black farmer in the South what has happened to them. So please, sir, do not undermine our intelligence in this program. Do not do that. Egberto Willis, thank you for asking to speak on this yesterday, Deborah Johns. Okay, let's see. Mike Cisak says, Bridge, that was the only small part. Okay, let's see what else I need to talk about. Small farmers suffer because the agriculture welfare that is pushed by the old FDR farm bill makes corporate large farms profitable by wasting production. We don't get that welfare as small. You see, you are speaking against yourself, sir. I am for breaking up the agribusiness. You are not. You believe in a plutocracy that screws you. I don't. If we attempt to sock it to the plutocracy, you guys complain about us being socialist. which is what we want to do. We want to protect you. We want your small farm to do well. But you won't allow us to go against ADM. You won't allow us to go against all these guys. You want to protect. You claim we are socialists when we try to do that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. What you said is true, CSAC. Your solution is what's wrong. Before I get into the major part of the program, let me just go ahead and do my pitch real quick. Folks, if you look, I've been pushing my book, As I See It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Neighbors. Please go ahead and get that book. You can get it at the link that I just placed in there. But also, if you want to take out the middleman, the kind of person that Mike Cisak is talking about that takes the ones really making the money, you know, when Amazon sells my book, they make more money on my book than I do. When I buy my book from Amazon at wholesale and I sell it to you, I make about $1 more. When they take it, they take away quite a bit. So that's just the reality of how the thing works. But the book that I would like everybody to get as well, I have this book called As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And it covers a lot of what Mike Cisak has the concerns are. The problem is that Mike Cisak is ill-informed as far as what happens, right? Because he sees the problem from the way the right wants him to see it. They screw him, and then they say, but the one who's really screwing you are those guys there who wants to make things better for you. They're the ones who are really screwing you. So please go ahead and try to get both books. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Resort to Right-Wing Doom, as well as It's Worth It. Those two books, with that you learn about the economics, with that you learn about all these same issues. But if you really want to support us as a program, we really need your support. You can go ahead and go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. Likewise, you can become what we call a Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is how it is spelled, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Now, if you're on YouTube right now, click that join button, become a part of our YouTube posse, PDR posse from our great Bridge MCP, who named it PDR Posse. So please consider joining our PDR Posse. If you're not on YouTube right now, you can just go to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, and join our YouTube Posse, PDR Posse. Okay. The article that got my ire today was this one here. Pfizer helped create the global patent rules. Now it is using them to undercut access to COVID vaccine. Remember on yesterday's show, we had a young man come on. His name was, forgot his name now. Ben something, all right? Ben came on and he said, we know how to make the vaccine now. We have the power now that we can just go ahead and mass produce it. Build the factories in a couple months and just start mass producing those vaccines. We could have enough vaccines to vaccinate everybody in this country in 2-3 months. But instead, we're working at the pace of the pharmaceutical companies. And they can only produce X amount of stuff at X amount of time. And the reason that is the case is they're in business not to save your life. Saving your life is nothing more than the raw material for them making money. And that is what people have to understand. If you have a for-profit healthcare system, what is the first goal of that healthcare system? To make a profit for its shareholders. And that is why this article came out. Because we're in a pandemic, the WTO wants to say, oh, wait a minute. The world, the 7 billion people or however many people in the world, we need the vaccine now. Let's suspend patents on this now so that we can go ahead and vaccinate everybody. Just mass produce it. India has a whole lot of capacity to mass produce vaccines. Well, the United States, the European Union, Britain, Norway, Switzerland, Canada, and Japan, the bastions of capitalism, says, absolutely not. We are not going to suspend patents so that you can mass produce this thing and give it to people. We are going to maintain a false scarcity. And in maintaining a false scarcity, we can charge these governments high prices to make sure all their people are vaccinated. But we are not going to allow you guys to just go mass produce our product. We invented it. We are not going to allow that. Same thing happened with the AIDS period, right? When we could have given cocktails throughout the world. All these things cost money. They are under control. And these companies, when they somehow finally get the FDA and the CDC to approve these drugs, you know what? They see money. And there's nothing wrong with money. Nothing wrong with money. But when it comes to healthcare, if you have money involved with healthcare, if you have profits involved with healthcare, what it is telling you is healthcare is nothing but the raw material. The profit is the ultimate goal. So you have to, and since Milton Friedman, the bastion of one of the bastion of capitalism, the guy who ran the Chicago Boys, the guy who destroyed Latin American economies, the guy who destroyed the economies around the world. Wait a minute. They says what again? What did they say? We are not going to give our product away for free. But guess where they wanted it pretty much for free? This RNA vaccine. Everybody talk about the miracle. You know, Donald Trump liked to talk about the miracle of the private sector. How great it was. They came up with that vaccine in 9 months and now it's out there and nobody believed that was going to be a possibility. That is not possible for us to do that. And everybody buy that. They believe it. Oh my God, look how great the private sector and we got bull. Mike Sisek, if you believe Latin American companies were destroyed by socialism, I suggest you learn some history. I suggest you read books like The Shock Doctrine. I suggest you learn what occurred with Pinochet. I suggest you, with Allende, I suggest you understand those concepts before you make a not very informed statement that Latin American economies were destroyed by socialism. They were actually destroyed by unfettered capitalism that tried to take the resources of the people where they live. But that's another story. We're talking about the health and these vaccines and the pharmaceutical companies and the evil with what they do. So they don't want that. They make believe. The fallacy that came out there was like, oh, these great companies created these great medicine, and because it's a private sector, it's all that. It's great, right? It's bull. It's utter bull. It's utter bull. Here's the reality. The reality is RNA studies been going on for a long time. 2007, Rochester University. Here is the article. These guys have been studying this. In fact, they're going to do some more studies on how to prevent all the crap that COVID does to the blood that causes strokes and all of that. They're going to be working on how to mitigate those particular issues, etc., etc., etc. But the fact of the matter is, your tax dollars went into studying RNA at Rochester University and all these universities around the country, whose knowledge then went into Pfizer, Moderna, and all of them. They were able to aggregate the knowledge that you paid for. They aggregated the knowledge that our tax dollars paid for. They come up with a product, and after they come up with the product, they sock it to you when, we sequenced the genes. We found the spike protein that we are going to attack so that we can get the immune system to attack that protein. But the technology, where did it come from again? You paid for it. Technology doesn't occur in one step. It's the growth of technology. If I see somebody building something and I see where they're going with that build, and they've gone through all the different tests and masses and so forth, and I see how they're doing, I get an idea. Oh, now they're almost done. I'll take it and I'll finish it. But all the grunt work, all the research, all these other things were already done. This RNA vaccine is not something like novel and new. Our researchers paid by tax dollars and grants have been at it for decades. And it's on that technology that we all paid for. That the few who owns Moderna and Pfizer and all these others are going to be profiting. Just those few people are going to be profiting from having to vaccinate 7 billion people on the world. We don't know if it's yearly, but if it's yearly, just think about the cash cow we're talking about. So now let's have a little talk with Sister Deborah John. Deborah, that is where the conspiracy really is, Sister John. That is where the conspiracy is. It's not in the value of the product itself. It's in the monetization of the product. That is the conspiracy. And that is where we need, as a nation, as a country, as a society, to say no. We will not allow the collective knowledge that created those vaccines that you guys finalized to make all the money. Because it's not fair, it is unethical, it is immoral, and the way they get away with it is under the Powell Manifesto taught people how to be selfish and inhumane. They taught people that there's something about capitalism that is rewarding, that has a soul. Look, I'm not trying to get rid of capitalism. Capitalism is doing a very good job of killing itself. I think capitalism is good in certain instances. If you want to make an iPhone and the best one survive and that's fine. You don't have to have an iPhone. But when it comes to your health, I'll be damned if I'm going to say capitalism is the best way to handle healthcare. Capitalism is the best way to handle energy. It isn't. It isn't. And teaching that, informing that, giving the examples that we have to use COVID as the perfect and classic example as to why capitalism is a failure. We have over 300,000 people to point that out, dead people to point that out. If we were not concerned about just the maximization of profit for those people who own businesses, we would have shut down for 2 or 3 months, clean ourselves of, like they did in Australia, of COVID, and restart. But that would mean that we would probably lose a quarter of the profits for 2020. But instead, these people got smart. Wait a minute. A lot of people are infected. We got a new industry. We're going to have to come out with a vaccine. Everybody got to get vaccinated. Make some money there. In the long run, people are going to stop going to restaurants. That means the chains survive. And as all those mom and pop businesses go out of business, the big chains, they make a whole lot. They make a whole lot. People, stop allowing the plutocracy to screw you. Stop believing the thing. Mike Cisak, I want you to keep coming here. And I want you to keep listening. Ledo, keep coming here, keep listening. And I tell you why. You see, I know, and a lot of my folks in this thread knows, the system is screwing you. And right now, all the pushback that you are giving us right now, when Mike Cisak, we need those pushbacks. We need him to bring up all those arguments that the right wing is using on him. We need that. We need that to be in the ethos. Even if he doesn't buy what we're saying, other people are going to see what he's written, and they're going to hear our response. They're going to see your response, and then they will. Since they're not the one making it, they can think for themselves after they see the discourse. After they see the discourse, they listen to you. They listen to me. They see the discourse. They see the logicalness of they don't have anything. They're passive listeners. Most people are smart. They get it. Eventually, their ideology, eventually it breaks their ideology. It is like, I have seen when people take off that ideological frame, what happens. And it's a beauty. Because you're not trying to say, hey, yeah, welcome to the smart side. We're trying to say, welcome to the humane side. Welcome to the side with your eyes wide open. And I'm not talking about just the left side here. I'm just talking about the side open. Again, we can't. Mike Cisak says Northern Ireland couldn't support their own healthcare system. Hold on. If they didn't get money from the UK, Northern Ireland is the UK. Come on now. Northern Ireland is the UK. It's not Ireland. Ireland is its own country that's doing very well. In fact, I was sent an article on Twitter today that proved that out of the 10 countries that people do the 10 best in, Ireland is the second one. Norway, then Ireland. And guess who doesn't make the top 10? America. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why America doesn't make the top 10. That is because we guys have decided to allow 10% of Americans to do extraordinarily well, 20% of Americans to do substantially well, and everybody else to be treading water. But because it's a big country, 20% of a big country is a lot of people, over 60 million people. 60 million people are doing just fine. The next percentile, they're struggling, and then the others are just in dire straits. All right. So that's the second article shows that the RNA was always in research. There's nothing new there. And so while the media talks about this great discovery, it wasn't no great discovery. This has been studies that's been going all along. As soon as they released the genome for the vaccine, they were able to build up something that attacks the particular what they call I don't remember what they call that protein. There's a researcher here in Houston who actually discovered how viruses enter the cell, that sort of stuff. I forget the name of it. And there's a movie that was made about him as well. Anyhow, so that's now patents in this entire scenario is the hammer. Patents. And I speak about that in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Patent is like the guillotine. Patent is like the machine gun that guns anybody down who's trying to mess with the intellectual property some corporation is claiming, right? Oh, I get a patent for this, so you can't make it. Even if you can make it better, you can't because I have the patent. It is the most dangerous, undemocratic thing there is. If you say, "Oh, well, you could then, without patents, you can just copy somebody else's work," let that be resolved elsewhere. But we don't want to give people the monopoly. You can patent a damn. At first, they try to patent a damn cancer gene. Come on now. Okay, let me continue going down. Let's see, AVQ. The people pay for the health care. Yes. All right, let me go up and start answering a few questions real quick. I don't have much time, but I saw that it seems like we had CSAC doing a lot of talking. Mike said, Bridge, what if GOP came along? No, that's not what we want to talk about. Deborah Janik, Better, yeah, aware of that one. Scrolling down, let's see if CSAC has something new to say. Bridge, under Obama, we lost money due to regulation that wasn't science-based. That is not true. At all, CSAC. In fact, I so much know it's not true that I'm going to ask you to specify a particular regulation that cost you or one of your friends or colleagues money. I dare you to find a particular regulation that cost you money. So I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting, CSAC. Tell me what that regulation is. Don't tell me what you hear right-wing radio say. Tell me that. Egberto, you don't know crap about agriculture? Yes, I've written about it. Thank you so kindly. And then continuing, Breeze says, Egberto, thank you for asking to speak on this yesterday. Thank you very much, Breeze. I aim to please. Let's see. There were a lot of mandates from the Obama admin that didn't add anything to agriculture other than just cost that waste. Again, specify, be specific. Let us know what you're talking about, CSAC. Be specific. You won't be able to be specific because it's a lie that's been told to you. Small farmers suffer because the agriculture welfare that is pushed by FDR bill makes, again, that is partially true, but you won't allow us to go after the big guys. So don't accuse us of doing that when you give the big guys free reign. We're not doing that. You are. Okay, continuing. Let's keep going down. Let's keep going down. Let's keep going down. Hello, Maywood from California. Welcome aboard. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for being here. Mike Cisak says, Democrats are all about control. Just like they're all about control over Native Americans on reservations. Dems were the ones who put them there. Yes, they were. But guess what happened to those Dems? They became Republicans. You ever heard of the Dixiecrats and who are the Dixiecrats? The Dixiecrats are the leaders of the Republican Party. Remember Strom Thurmond? Powerful, racist Democrat. When the Democratic Party decided that it needed to change, guess where he went? Yes, with the Southern strategy. Nixon, Strom, and all of them became Republicans. So now that part of the party became Republican. You see, you can't just... The reason a lot of stuff works is a lot of people don't know some of this stuff, right? But when you throw things like that out, CSAC, on a program like this, where we actually know the truth, you run into trouble. The Republican Party, a lot of it is now comprised of the old Democrats. Take a look at Texas. Texas was a very democratic state. All those Republicans from the governor and all these guys were former Democrats. They're now Republicans. So let's get your information correctly, sir. Just don't talk the top line. That is what the right wing expect out of you. They expect you to not do a lot of deep thinking. I expect you. I trust you. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe that when you start doing deep thinking, your right wing sycophants won't be able to control you or your mindset the way they're doing right now. I am not trying to control your mindset. I'm trying to tell you, please read. Please find the truth. Please don't listen to what they're imparting on you. Just that. Then do away with the 1 trillion social welfare spending. Why should we do that? Why should we get rid of... No, that is it. What you call welfare is redistribution of a capitalist system that has inequities that are built in. I don't have a problem using the word redistribution. There's an aberration within the capitalist system that does require redistribution. I mean, we'll touch on that at another time. But I am not scared of saying redistribution. I'm not scared of saying there are certain parts of our economy that should be socialist. And I can explain it. Sir, with all due respect. Okay, I'm going to have to get out of here because I got to go to another interview. But look, I love you all. Egberto, did you see what Rachel Maddow said the other day? That Pfizer having a lot of XX vaccine in the shelf, but this administration is telling them where it is. Yeah, I saw that. I did see that. Hey, CSAC, go feed those cows and come back again. Thank you for being here. Look, guys, I got to go. But look, thank you so kindly for having been here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this. Oh, before I go, one more pitch. Please go to my store. Get the book, get the T-shirts, all that good stuff. That helps us defray the cost of this program. It helps us being able to survive. Thank you so kindly. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.